What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be reviewing your teams. I've got 5 teams to review that you guys have sent over on Twitter. I've got a variety of different structures, a variety of different players, so hopefully one of these teams is similar to the one that you are looking at in your own game. So I'm going to look at the positives, the negatives, and give her an overall score to hopefully help each of you individually in some way on how to improve your team without reviewing everyone in turn. So if you find this useful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, but without further ado, let's get into it. So the first team of 5 we've got up on screen now has been kindly sent over by FPL Flynn on Twitter. Go and check them out. So initial thoughts is the team looks good. It looks quite template. A lot of us will have players similar to this, although there are little things that I would maybe change or that I really like about it that are different to what else we've got. So let's get into it. First of all, we've got the positives. So Robertson already in. A lot of people are looking on how to get these Liverpool defenders into our team. So already having that for the upcoming West Brom fixture is a really big bonus. Attacking defender, so all of these defenders, including Reece James, who is currently injured, but if you include that, all of these defenders have attacking threat. Now, having both clean sheet and attacking potential from defenders makes them much better options than just your defensive assets, you know, your centre backs and things like that. And the final one is this 4 premiums. So we've got Salah, De Bruyne, Son and Kane all in there. It gives you really solid captaincy picks every single week. It doesn't seem to disrupt the balance of this team too much. So overall, I actually really like that there are 4 premiums in this team. However, there are a few negatives. The first one is there's no Bruno Fernandes in here. I think he is the most valuable player in the game this season at less prices than the likes of Kane, De Bruyne and Salah, but returning just as many points as him. So I think try and get him in, whether it's at the expense of one of those 4 premiums, but I do think it's worthwhile having Bruno Fernandes in your team at the moment. There is a slight lack of depth, especially with Reece James injured at the moment. It may be a transfer out for Reece James until he's back, but with Mitchell and Basuma on the bench, it's very few points that will sit on the bench every week. So especially with the Christmas rotation, there isn't that much to fill in if one of your players misses out. And with those a few injuries in the team, so Lamptey and Reece James, potential doubts for the upcoming game weeks, with the lack of depth that you've got on your bench just means that if there is that bit of rotation, you could be stuck a little bit. But overall, I like this team a lot and I'd give it a strong 8.5 out of 10. So good luck in the upcoming game weeks. FPL Flynn, let me know how it gets on. Next up, we've got team number 2 from Matt the Knight on Twitter. Now, first glances, I like this team. 4-4-2, when I first saw it, I was not particularly fond of. I think there's a lot of value in maybe the cheap midfielders and the cheap attackers, but I see it's only a 4-4-2 because we've got Wilson on the bench this week away at Manchester City. So a 3-4-3 with Wilson in there normally would give this a really good look. So let's get into the positives and negatives and the overall score for what I've given this team. So the positives that we start with, I like that there is a strong bench. So even if Wilson comes in a 3-4-3 and starts ahead of someone like Dallas, it gives really strong depth, especially with those 2 defenders. 4.5 defenders offer great bench options this season. The likes of Taylor, Dallas and Konza in this example, or Kufal. If you can have them on your bench to come in every week, instead of having to spend, 5.5 on a midfielder or 6 million on a striker to sit on your bench, they are great value for strength and depth. The strong 5 defensive to build on this is really nice. It allows you to rotate the good fixtures between all 5 of them, especially if you're only playing 3 each week. So that's a really good positive. And similarly to the last one, there are 3 great captaincy options with De Bruyne, Salah and Kane all in this team. I like all 3 of them a lot, and being able to rotate with them, you're surely going to get good returns each and every week from one of these 3 premium options. On to the negatives for this team. First of all, as I've said, is no Bruno Fernandes. Now, he's just ticking along so nicely. He offers such good value even at his price under the likes of Salah, De Bruyne and Kane, and is scoring just as many points. So I really like Bruno Fernandes as an option. Maybe it's Wilson downgrade and a Grealish upgrade, but some way to get Bruno Fernandes into your team, I really think is worth it. The other negative is a really small point. I like Liverpool defenders at the moment. I prefer them to the likes of Chilwell and Cancelo, so potentially upgrading one of them to someone like Robertson, but it is such a small point that it's not really going to affect the overall performance of this team. I've given this team an 8.5 out of 10 just because there are a few little players in there. Someone like Bowen, I'm not a huge fan of. Wilson with their fixtures turning again, and Konza with the injury, but the basis of this team is really nice, and it could have easily got a 9 or 9.5 out of 10 if there are a couple of players different, which is obviously what the free transfers are for in the upcoming game weeks. Next up, we've got team number 3 from FPL Stonks over on Twitter. Thank you for sending it in, everyone, and anyone who didn't get reviewed, there will be future videos where you can get your team reviewed by me live on the video, so stay tuned for those tweets. Now, instantly I see Vardy up front. I like him as an option, but I do prefer other options. It does look nice. There are a few little players that I'll tweak. For example, Masuaku's out for a very long time, but let's get into the exact positives and negatives that I have with team number 3. So the positives, strong captaincy picks. It's great to have, 4 captaincy picks here with De Bruyne, Son, Salah and Vardy in your team. It is well balanced, there's a strong defence there with the likes of Robertson, but it doesn't feel like that money has hindered the rest of the team. You've got 4 premiums, then you've got the likes of Bamford, Adams and Grealish in there. The bench is a little bit weak, but overall there is good squad depth in this team, and there are a few good differentials. The likes of Che Adams is very low owned. Robertson has quite low ownership as well as some of the others in that defence. So there are a few good differentials which can help push you up the rankings ahead of other people. But onto the negatives, it is this no Bruno Fernandes, and I would look at something like Vardy in future game weeks to Bruno Fernandes. How you do that, maybe it's Vardy and Grealish to Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Bruno Fernandes, that's one way of doing it. Or if it's just Vardy and, for example, Anguissa to Brewster and Bruno Fernandes, another way of doing it. The other big issue, is the no playing goalkeeper. Ryan seems to have lost his place in that Brighton team, and Steer doesn't play for Aston Villa. So that is the one thing that needs to change straight away for this team. Sort out your goalkeeper. Get Ryan out. Get Martinez in or McCarthy. You don't have any Southampton defence in this team, so McCarthy of Southampton would be a great replacement. And the bench, as we've spoken about, there's not much in there with Masuaku injured, but if Masuaku can be moved to someone like Kufal of West Ham, then it would just completely eradicate that point and your bench would be much stronger. So Ryan and Masuaku out are definitely the free transfers I'd be thinking of for this team. I'd give this team an overall score of 9 out of 10. It could have been a full, 9.5 if that goalkeeper and Masuaku weren't there. But with free transfers in the coming weeks, this could definitely improve this squad to be one of the best squads I've seen in a while. Next up, we got team 4 of the 5 teams that we're reviewing, and this has been sent in by Bostalstein over on Twitter, so go and check him out. So instantly, I look at this team and I think, great, we've got double Chelsea defence, which has been great, Robertson in there, but we've also got the likes of De Bruyne, Son, Fernandes in that midfield. And then I look a bit more in detail about how the team is structured and I fall a little bit out of love with it. So let's get into the positives and negatives and the score I've given it. So the positives, I like that it has a strong bench. You've got Podence and you've got Walker-Peters to come in there. Kilman will get a 1 point most weeks. So strong bench, if one of those players doesn't play over Christmas, you've got Podence or Walker-Peters to come in, then that's absolutely fine. Liverpool defence, as I've said, owning Robertson in your team is really good to have. Definitely getting ahead of the curve of that will be hopefully going to boost you up the rankings. And as I've said, strong captaincy picks, De Bruyne, Son and Fernandes in there. Good picks that I would definitely want in your team at the moment. But if we move on to the negatives, I do feel like there's a little bit too many differentials in there. Someone like Watkins is definitely a transfer out for me. Someone like Che Adams in for Watkins would be a great move. And having Podence sat on your bench is just not really worth the money for me. Someone like Souček instead of Podence would definitely improve it. No Salah as well is a big warning sign for me. Fernandes and Salah, if I can't go on about enough things in this video, Fernandes and Salah in your teams is just crucial. You can rotate the captaincy between the two of them. They are so clinical and their returns are just so consistent this season. You need both of them in your team. And the final one is the injuries that we've seen to both of these Chelsea defenders. Chilwell picking up an injury in the West Ham game. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but with the next game week's coming so quickly, he could easily miss 1, 2 or even 3 game weeks. And Reece James, again, we don't know quite the extent of his injury. So 2 of those defenders are currently injured, so one of them definitely needs to be sold. But Chilwell to someone like Ruben Diaz of Man City would be a great transfer for this team and really strengthen it going forward, especially with them playing Newcastle this week. So Overall, I give this team a 7 out of 10. I started off much higher and I lowered this score. I do like a lot of aspects of it, but little things like Giroud in there, who's not going to play every week, Watkins in there, no Salah, Podence on the bench, and that double Chelsea defence is just what lowered the score down. But the basis and a lot of the core are there. It just needs a little bit of tweaking to really boost up that overall point score. Just before we get into the final section of this video is sponsored by Fantasy Football Hub. They have great stats, articles, comparison tools, fixture tickers and so much more. From just £2 a month you can improve your FPL game. There is a link in the description which will give you 15% off. If you are interested, go and check it out. Available online and in the App Store. Enjoy. Now let's get back to the video. So now on to team number 5, the final team that we have to review today by DZ Nalak over on Twitter. If you've got this far guys and you have enjoyed, please smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. There's plenty more videos like this and other things coming as well, so make sure to like if you had enjoyed it. But first, looking at this team again, the midfield and defence look really strong and goalkeeper, but then I look at the forwards and the bench and it lowers the score down for me. But let's get into a bit more detail about what I like and don't like exactly about this team. So the positives that I look at, Salah and Bruno. Finally, we have a team with both Salah and Bruno. Now, there aren't any Spurs players in this team and there aren't any Man City players apart from Torres we'll get into. There's no De Bruyne. But Salah and Fernandes need to be the priority when it comes to premiums. Their consistency is just great. You can rotate the captaincy between the two of them. So I do like that aspect of it. And the current starting 3 defenders in Zuma, Cresswell and Robertson are great. They've got good upcoming fixtures. They've got attacking the threat, both with goals and assists. So the starting defenders are really nice. But actually, when we look a bit more detail into the negatives and we look on the defence on the bench, then that's where things start to get a bit weaker. Neco Williams and Bernardo rarely get on the pitch anymore. There definitely needs to be an upgrade. With the Christmas period coming, Cresswell or Robertson could get a rest and it would definitely hinder this team because there's no one on the bench to come in for them. Next, we have the poor choice of strikers. Welbeck has been picking up some goals, but to be relying on him alongside Giroud and Ings just feels a bit too much. Giroud isn't going to play every game, especially with a lot of fixtures coming for Chelsea and every Premier League team over Christmas. You can't rely on him to play every week, and Danny Ings has now picked up another injury, so he needs to be a transfer out. So Giroud and Ings definitely need to be changed. Someone like Bamford can come in, Calvert-Lewin, Callum Wilson, these informed strikers definitely need to be coming in. You can look at Danny Ings' teammate Che Adams as well, but these two players definitely need to be looked at. Welbeck can partner them, but he's not the strongest to have it as your main striker. The final one we have is just lack of squad depth. Again, Torres on the bench, you know when it comes to Christmas schedule, he's not going to play every single week. He is a good option when he starts, but you cannot rely on him with the amount of rotation that Man City team has for him to start every single week. So that lack of squad depth and the lack of premiums as well. So Torres could be combined with someone like Giroud. So Giroud downgrade and Torres upgrade to someone like Heung-min Son would be a great fix to this team. Switch to a 3-5-2 and you wouldn't have all that money sat on the bench. So overall, I'd give this team a score of only 6.5 out of 10. Little transfers like Giroud and Torres to Son and Brewster, and then putting that money into Neco Williams upgraded to someone like Kyle Walker-Peters would massively improve this team. So it is easily improved. It's not something that the core is wrong with this team, but just on the face of it at the moment, it definitely needs improving. So good luck guys in game week 15. I hope this has been helpful. Again, I know a lot of you guys sent your teams in and I will get to them all on Twitter and reviewing in future videos. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for future videos. But that's all we've got time for in this particular video. We'll be back with plenty of live streams, plenty of videos as well over the coming weeks. Good luck in game week 15 guys, and thanks for tuning in. Bye.